So one thing I don't see talked about really often is how a simple tool like this, just a parallel rack, with one track that has a utility on it without anything on, and the other one has a utility but with a mono. And so when you're adding this to a sound, obviously you're going to add some mono signals, so you're going to center it a bit more and also add volume and add presence to the signal. And it can be interesting sometimes when, depending on the audio you're working with. I just thrown in there a sample that I recorded from a previous track, and it's a nice atmospheric sound, but so atmospheric, so wet, and full of reverb that um, it's lacking a lot of presence, in my opinion. As you can hear, it's super wide, and in context, it goes like this. And when you apply it, so you can really play on the feeling and the placement of that sound, either by reducing the volume of the stereo chain or the volume of the mono chain. And as you can see here on this multiband correlation meter, you can see how it's affecting the signal. We remain close to zero or above zero, which means we're not going to lose any signal. Nothing is going really too far in the stereo image. But if it you listen to the sound without it, so it's really filling the sound a lot more and adding a lot of presence to the sound by adding those this mono information. So I think it's a really useful tool. Sometimes you will find that a sound is missing something, and if it's one of those atmospheric sounds, perhaps sometimes it's not only about putting it louder, but adding those mono information that will help the sound get through a lot more. Honestly, when I'm using this tool, I like to go by ear. Here I pulled out the correlation meter just to have a visual representation of what's going on, but I like to go by ears, and sometimes it's even an interesting tool to kind of make sure that everything is gonna be mono compatible in the track, but also being able to dial as much mono information as I want. So perhaps on atmospheric sounds, I'll do it differently than on some synth if I feel that they need it to. If you go and put a lot of reverb on some percussions, perhaps, of course, doing the reverb in parallel, but also having one of these after can bring some interesting results. Just try and see for yourself, and perhaps you will end up like me, having this tool as one of the things that you like the most and that you use pretty often.